All right. Awesome. Oh, even my bike is back there in the background. Is that
No, that's cool. It makes it look like you're very active.
I am actually. For a fat guy, I'm in great shape. I have my blood pressure is great. I'm in great cardiovascular health. The difference is I just eat lots of junk, So
Yeah. So tell me about what was this project you were working on over in New York for a couple months?
Okay. So it was we're doing a pilot for, are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a pilot program using our MES 4.0 solution. So essentially it was a lathe and CNC facility in Pennsylvania where they make connector ends for internal customers. And one of their biggest challenges is scheduling management. They'll do production runs of like 3-4 weeks long. They didn't have ignition. There's a corporate initiative to do this, what's known as digital factory, right? Industry 4.0. One of the biggest challenges with the digital factory or industry 4.0 is that no one has really defined how to implement it. Okay. Really the whole idea of digital factory is to take all the stuff that you do on paper and make that digital. Use computer software, use your HMI, your SCADA, your MES layer to input all that information. That's digital factory, right? Then you have IIoT on top of that, which is essentially publish all pertinent data to a single data structure and make all consumers within the organization, give them the ability to access it. So rather than having 100 different pieces of software, one piece of software that accounting uses, one that operations uses, one that scheduling uses, one that the executives use, have a single platform, a single source of truth for all of your industrial data. So what we're doing for this customer, we're essentially doing a pilot where we're integrating 5 CNC lathe machines, 4 Mazaks, 1 Doosan, using only IIoT protocols. So that is ignition. We're using ignition software. We're using MES 4.0, which is developed by 4.0 Solutions and which runs inside of ignition. And then we're using a custom-made edge gateway that essentially connects to the machine and then publishes all of the data over the MQTT protocol to ignition. And the idea was to be able to integrate a line within 15 minutes. Number one, be able to get it into the MES system from scratch. That is, you install the device on the edge and get it into the system within 15 minutes collecting data. So that was goal number one, get rid of all that engineering cost, right? Goal number 2 was to be able to give them real-time data. They were making scheduling decisions based on information that they got yesterday. And I can tell you that we do a lot of consulting for manufacturers where they bring us in and we evaluate their organization top to bottom, right? Do they have the right resources? What are their pain points? What are the problems that they know they have and what are the problems they don't know that they have? And what can we do to help them? Right. And then we generally write a roadmap telling them how to get from where they are to where they want to go. And then, and what we find out is that everyone is dealing with the same issue. They're dealing with data that's 24 hours old. They're not agile. They can't make adjustments to their schedule in real time. It's got to go through a single person. So, hey, I've scheduled my production runs for a whole week in some Excel spreadsheet, and that goes to some supervisor. And that supervisor is supposed to hit that deadline at the end of the week. Well, things happen operationally that delay that schedule, right? And so what we want to be able to do is update that schedule in real time. That's what they wanted to be able to do. And that's just one piece of what we're doing on that project. Another piece, we're integrating with SAP to go get the work orders and the scheduled rates. And but that's what we're doing. We're essentially building a digital factory from scratch is really what we're doing for that customer. So.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
I remember you saying that integrating the ERP system was kind of one of the more challenging aspects of MES integration. Would you talk about some of the challenges you're facing with, that customer or just in general integrating with the ERP system?
Yeah. So in general, right? So what is the holy grail in manufacturing operations right now? If you were to poll chief operating officers or chief technical officers across organizations, and you ask them what's the holy grail, the holy grail would be that they could take a sales order. Somebody buys 10 million widgets. You can take a sales order and automatically software would automatically determine which plant that should run in based on best shipping rates, utilization, efficiency, capacity, and the work order would get automatically scheduled and show up to the operator on their machine when it's time to run without any human intervention, right? That's the holy grail. Then while the line is running, the executives could see work in progress. That is, these lines are all running. These sales orders are being filled up to this point. They could see that information in real time. If there are any problems, their MES system would then make an update to the schedule accordingly, so that you don't have to wait for the next person to come in on the next shift to go through all the data and make that decision. Right? That's the holy grail. The closing that loop would be then sending all the efficiency information back to the ERP system. That would be things like how available was my line? What was the quality of the product that came out? How did that line perform relative to the way that our OEM or our engineers should have said it should have performed? It should be able to produce X widgets per hour. How fast did it actually run on that production run, right? So then the algorithm that you're using to take a sales order and turn it into manufacturing orders could then consume that information, and then that algorithm could run better for future production runs, right? It could more accurately predict the schedule. That's the holy grail. If you ask anybody, they're going to say that's what they want. So in order to do that, you have to do, and everybody hears this, the marriage of OT with IT, right? But if you ask people what that means, they'll have no idea what it means. It's marrying operational technology with information technology. Well, what they really mean is being able to take information that's collected on the edge, that's machine state, machine counts, the information that's in the PLCs, it's in the controllers, and be able to get that information into the information technology, which would be things like your ERP system, right? Or your planning software, or your accounting software. The biggest challenge we run into integrating that, if you go up the stack, right, you've got level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and now level 5, right? Level 5 is like cloud. The level 4 is your ERP system. That's way up here, and it's basically how you run your business. The ERP system is designed to take sales orders, to track assets, to track inventory, to track locations, and decide where a sales order is supposed to go in your organization. And as you grow, it becomes more and more difficult for people to do that routing. It's just there's too much information. But the problem is that most organizations don't allow you to even connect to the ERP system. So if you want to automate this type of thing, right? If you want to make it easier for people to do their job, make your organization more agile, you have to be able to connect to the ERP system. And if you want to know what the biggest challenge is in implementing the digital factory, it's getting all of the decision makers in your IT groups on the same page to even get access to that information. Oftentimes they're asking you to do it through middleware, which means you got to bring in additional development groups. The reality is that ERP systems like SAP were designed to integrate with other software, but most IT groups don't allow you to connect to it. That's the biggest challenge. It's not just SAP, it's any ERP system, whether you're talking about Epicor, Batchmaster, Macola, you name it. We work with all of them. It's the same problem. No, you're not going to access our data. Even though, we could save you millions of dollars, we do.
What you described, it made me think of like the connecting of IT and OT and the information coming from the sales order down to the manufacturing environment, and then from the manufacturing environment back up to the sales order. Like, for example, if a machine is running slow one day, the ERP could take that into account the next time it decides to use that machine to fulfill work order, right? So like each time the process is around, it gets smarter and smarter. It's kind of like the singularity of manufacturing.
Correct. It's
like we want to work towards that. Like we may never actually get there, but
we actually will get there. And
okay.
here's the strategy for getting there.
It's fully AI at that point.
What it is, and this brings up two good points. So the first point is, are we going to get there? The answer is yes. The second question is, or the question that comes out of that point is, what do we do once we get there, right? So let's answer the first question, which is, are we ever actually going to get there? Are we actually going to have a complete flow loop from sales order all the way down to manufacturing order, all the way back up into an algorithm to use that returned information to then better schedule the next sales order? Are we ever actually going to get there? The answer is yes. And the way we're going to get there is we're going to build it from scratch. What's going to happen is an organization, is a brand new manufacturing organization is going to be created as a subsidiary of an existing organization. And that brand new organization is not going to have any processes in place. They will not have selected an ERP system yet. They will have not selected manufacturing hardware out on the edge. And so what's going to happen is over time, over the next 3 or 4 years, the decision makers, the presidents, the CEOs, the COOs, the CTOs are going to start talking to people like Intellic Integration before they ever move into this venture. And we're going to be with them right alongside them to help architect the solution, to say, if you want the Holy Grail, we can help you. And we can do it cost effectively. I mean, for a fraction of what you think it will cost, we can implement a full-scale digital factory. And the reality is, we're talking about doing this right now with a company in Ohio. Okay, there's a brand new company in Ohio that is essentially a joint venture between 2 existing companies. And they've created this new organization, this global organization that's got 3 manufacturing facilities. It's 8 or 9 companies altogether. They got a services group. They have not selected their ERP system yet. The facility is still being built in Ohio. So they brought us in early enough, and here's why. You want to know why they brought us in early enough? Because the plant manager of the facility in Ohio has been a believer in ignition since 2010, and she said, if I could get ignition into a brand new facility, I could create a state-of-the-art digital factory. She said that about ignition. Okay, and when she made that decision, when she joined this venture, when they hired her to help build this plant, she said, I need to know which integrator to talk to in order to help me execute my vision. So the point is, it's going to happen, and we're going to do it. And if it's not in this opportunity here, then we're going to do it eventually. It's going to happen. Okay. So then the second question is, well, what's going to happen once you have a fully automated stack, right? So from sales order all the way down to the edge, all the way back up. Our mission is to help save and create middle-class jobs in the United States. Well, doesn't that mean that we're going to automate out U.S. jobs? There are certain jobs that are going to get automated out, maybe. I've never personally seen that. In my entire career, I have never automated something that cost someone their job. 99.99999% of the time, the organization that we automated some process for, they reappropriated that person. They took that person and put them in a place where they needed them more, not sitting here kicking a box to make sure the label's facing that way, right? They put them in a spot where they could provide more value to the organization. So the truth is that once you automate that whole stack, what you're going to do is free people up to do the things that the organization really needs to do, which is like innovate processes, build new reports, consume data, right? You're going to create jobs along the tech layer, people to maintain your SCADA system, people to maintain your MES system, people to maintain your ERP system, and people to maintain that stack. So the narrative that data takes away, or automation takes away jobs, is true if you only look at it from one perspective. If you don't ever ask the question, well, what vacuums does it create when you automate? What new vacuums exist, and where are you going to get the people to fill them? That creates jobs, right? In the video you posted of Andrew the other day, he talked about the problem is not going to be enough data. The problem is going to be, you're going to have so much data. What do you do with it now? What do you do with that data? And the answer is, you consume it to get better. You consume it to make your operations better. That's the answer.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's actually kind of it's crazy when you actually think about it like this. Thank you for dissecting that so well for me. I kind of have a real good picture of it. I kind of like see like the circle and then the three triangle, like the three segments of the pie, like, you know, SCADA, ERP, or MES,
Yep.
you know, the edge, and just kind of like flowing all back into a circle. And, you know, I love that you're like, we are going to do this. You know, it's not like this some unobtainable place. Like, you're like, we're going to get there. We're going to make this happen. And then we're going to have so much data. We're going to start consuming it and then make it even better, you know? So, if, you know, for example, if we were to say that we couldn't do it, then we would never get there. So,
You know, it's funny.
I love
We
that.
talked about we talk about being a disruptive integrator, you know, and so, you know, like this, someone sent me a message on LinkedIn the other day, a private message about, you know, what is a disrupt, or I think he sent it to me on Twitter. Either way, it doesn't matter. I got it through social media. He asked me the question, what exactly is a disruptive integrator, right? What does that mean? And the answer is that at its core, if I was going to break it down to one sentence, it is, we put the customer's best interest first, always. Now, it's not like we're the first integrator to ever say that, but I believe we're probably the first integrator to ever actually mean it. There are companies out there who truly want to change the world, that their whole mission is not to make money. Their mission is to have an impact. And when you look at millennials coming up, right? Millennials more and more want their life to mean something more than their job, right? They want it to be about their passion. Well, the future of employment in the United States is connecting people's passions to what they do to make money, right? And more people's passions are about leaving their mark on the world. It's not about a bigger boat. It's not about a bigger house. It's not about vacations in Aspen like it was for my generation, right? For the generation coming up behind us, it's about having an impact, saying that I left my mark, right? What better mission to have in your life than to help rebuild the middle class by creating the types of jobs you need in order for there to be a middle class, right? So as a disruptive integrator, we start with our values, which is we're going to help save and create middle class jobs. And then we move to our vision, right? What is our vision? And our vision is that we are going to be the type of integrator who truly puts the customer's best interest first. We're going to go in, we're going to establish a relationship, and we're going to tell them the truth. Okay, we're not going to try to sell them anything. We're going to look for the right connection. Is this customer, is this client ready for the types of things we can do for them? And if they are, let's establish a relationship and work together to achieve those goals. And let's not have our whole mission be about how can I continue to monetize this relationship? Why can't you just say to your customer, listen, I've got to keep the lights on and I got to keep my engineers paid. Here's what my costs are. Let's work out a payment structure so that you can pay your fair share of my costs, right? Here's how much I pay my engineers. I mean, we do all these things with our customers. But there's no other integrator who goes in and says, I'm paying this engineer $110,000 a year because I believe he's worth it. They're not doing that. They're not saying that when we fly to China, we fly business class. Yes, it costs 3 times more, but it saves us 3 days in recovery for our engineers, and it keeps them. It's a small price to pay to keep them happy, right? So we need those engineers to solve problems, right? And we need them to stay with us for a very long time so that they can develop the skills they need to do these high-level implementations. I mean, it's easy to go out there and find somebody to write a PLC program. We hardly ever do that. Literally, we rarely sit down and get a sequence of operations and a functional specification and write a PLC program. I bet you we write 3 a year because we spend all of our time doing the things that other firms can't do. And that's because of the way we build our company. We have the types of people who can solve those problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete, the second part of being, it's a complete shift in the paradigm. So the second part of being a disruptive integrator is accepting the projects that other people can't or won't do, right? We do those things. I just had a meeting last week in College Station, Texas. So I was down in College Station. We're meeting with a really large global manufacturer down there. And they've been mandated to build an MES system and to use a certain platform. We want you to use platform X. That came from corporate. That's all they've been told to do, right? They've met with a handful of different integrators who are supposed to be certified in this platform. And they actually told us, me and John, our director of sales, they said, you guys are the first integrator to come in here who knew what you were talking about. You know, he said, we've been waiting for you guys to come here. So why is it we're using digital media? We're using digital media to let consumers out in the marketplace know, hey, listen, you don't have to settle. The people, and we're not the only company that can do this stuff. We have partners that can do these types of things as well. There are other integrators who think just like us, but there's such a small cross section of the market, right? We're out there to say, listen, we're out here in the digital space saying, listen, we are here. The people you're looking for are out there. The people who can answer your questions are out there. The people who have the knowledge base, they're out there. That's the reason we're doing this. That's why we're getting our message out, because we're trying to figure out, how do we let them know you don't have to settle, that your vision is real and it's cost effective. It's realistic and cost effective. That's the reason we're doing this whole thing.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love it.
Hey, you're going to break this up into like little.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good section.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a pretty good meeting this week. I was going to do a kind of a weekly update on the Daily Z and talk about everything I did this week. I went to Dallas on Monday and I had a podcast with Jake Melton, who just wrote a book on minimalism, not just with like things, but like with your mind and stuff too. And then I had another podcast with Lila Smith, who she's really interesting. She used to be in New York and she just moved to Dallas like 3 weeks ago.
I watched her. I watched that one. I watched a couple of the segments.
And, it's cool because she helped me like focus on, preparing for the meeting that we had, like to be able to communicate. She was the one who kind of suggested a bulleted, meeting agenda with kind of like where we're at now, where we want to go. And then, it was really cool because, that's what she does on the side for like coaching, and that would have been, expensive, but she exchanged that service for me because she knows that I'm going to give that value back to her. And, by having her on my podcast and then promoting her. And then whenever anyone needs any help with communication, it's kind of like, and reason why it's almost like how you structure your business with when you join a client. She says, when you're communicating, it's not just you, it's your communication partner. And the goal of the communication should be to get the solution that benefits both you and your communication partner. So it's a, win-win. And
if you look at long-term, what your business opportunities are long-term, what you need to be doing is identifying the people in your space who are like you and can do the things that you do. The other digital media people. And then what you do is you join forces in a firm, even if you don't have a building, what you do is you join forces with two or, the next time you secure an account, what's going to happen is through this process, someone's going to contact you and say, Zach, I want you to do for me what you do for Intellic Integration.
Yeah,
right?
A couple people actually reached out after we posted your first LinkedIn video, which looked like it's been doing pretty well too, by the way.
It has. Yeah.
Someone reached out to me. They're like, "Oh, I like the idea of what you're doing and stuff." So it's definitely coming.
So then, what's going to happen is you're going to run out of bandwidth.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to run out of bandwidth, but you're also going to be the first in this space. Like I haven't seen anyone, by the space, I don't mean the integration space, right?
Yeah.
What I mean is you're like really the first person I've come across who's taking what you do, your passion for digital media, and monetizing it through relationships in a B2B environment, right? What's going to happen is you're going to run out of bandwidth, but everyone's still going to know you as the guy who does this. So then your value is connecting them with the other digital media expert who can be the Zach for them. So then what you should be doing is identifying those people that you would refer someone to once you run out of bandwidth. So it's like, are you going to hire someone, right? Probably not, because if you were to hire someone, you want someone who wants the freedom you want, right?
Yeah. And then all of my energy would go into like trying to manage that person to make sure that, that the business is staying profitable. But,
so then what you guys want to do, what you would ultimately do is you find, 2 or 3 like-minded digital personalities, right? Social media personalities like yourself who would be interested in monetizing their business, not through views, but through providing value to other businesses, right?
Okay.
And then what you do is you just create an organization that where you guys can share revenue with one another, right?
Okay.
You get paid referrals. You guys you're throwing common money into the pot that you're all drawing from.
Kind of like a peer-to-peer business, kind of distributed business.
And that's ultimately
almost
the direction you should be going. You know what I mean? Because I can tell you that from our perspective, from my perspective specifically, you've provided an immense amount of value to our organization, right?
Thank you.
And you know, where some members of our executive leadership team, they care about the measurable stuff. I care, as a president, I care about measurable, right? I have a fiduciary responsibility, but really what I care about is the abstract. You know, I see the world very abstractly. Part of how I look at the world is I look at the vacuums that are going to be created, and I ask the question, who's going to fill that vacuum, right?
Yeah.
And what you're doing is filling a vacuum that not just one that exists right now, but future vacuums that are going to be created down the road. And I think you've done a great job. I mean, seriously, if you look at the first 60 days, you know, even if you were to just use measurables, it was successful. But
yeah, I mean, it's you know, like 10,000 or 5,000 unique people. Like it kind of sounds like a small number, but like when you actually think about, that's like a lot of people to, you know, and there's a lot of people posting content. So it's like, you know, to actually make a mark and get your name and message out there, you know, took some work. We crossed 100 followers, so that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, really sweet. I mean, it's a big deal, man.
And I feel like you and I, we can kind of connect on a deeper level because there's not many people that would understand that, you know, or, you know, take some people to understand that conversation we had at the beginning and how that relates to like the singularity and like kind of visually looking at it, like it's like the fabric of the universe. And
right.
You know, we had that conversation back on the beach in Galveston one day. We were talking about like the universe and time and, you know, so it's, and then, so I was listening to a podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast, and Jordan Peterson was saying how time is so weird because it's like we're here caught in this moment in time, like what we experience is the present, but going forward into the future, it's like this, you know, it's like kind of like here's the past, and then here's the present, and then here's the future, and you have all this infinite places that you can go, and you're basically going to go wherever you put your effort and energy into, and like what you define as your why. That's what's going to lead your walk into that space. And how you describe it as filling the vacuum, it truly is a vacuum, because every time the universe forks and goes into a different direction, there's all this empty space in between that can be filled with new and interesting things to do and opportunities. So I love it, man.
And this is what I say all the time is that you know, life is 90% of life is work. It's 90% of it's doing what you have to do and 10% doing what you want to do. Right.
Yeah.
And even if you believe in the 4-hour work week, right. Even if you believe in the 4-hour work week, which is, you know, that whole concept of I can provide enough value in 4 hours a week that I can survive, because what you're doing is trading that value for money. Right. Well, what you mean is that I'm going to simulate that 90% of my time is working by using automation, by, you know, cutting my costs, all that kind of stuff. The reality is that you're still to the real world. You're essentially the 4-hour work week is about being able to make it look like 90% of the time you're working. Okay. By automating processes. I mean, ultimately that's what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
So I don't believe the 4-hour work week is the real thing, is the real concept. What I believe is the real concept is finding out what your passion is, and then turning your passion into the way you make money, right?
Yeah.
So that it doesn't feel like work, right?
Yeah.
You don't hang your head when you got to get up to go into the office. You know, that's the idea. You know, it's not so much.
That's a good point, man. How
can I game the system? It's how can I do something that doesn't feel like work, even though I am working? You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, because you have to put in, you're only going to get back what you put in. You know what I mean? That's not cliche. It really is the truth, because it boils down to dollars and cents. At some point, someone is saying, how much does this person cost me? and what is the value I'm getting in return? And I'm only going to give them back a fraction of what my value is.
Yeah.
Right. Because the difference is my profit. Right. And it's amazing to me how many people out there think, I can get paid, I deserve $120,000 a year.
But they're not worth it.
Even though I generate $50,000 a year in revenue and I generate $30,000 a year in abstract revenue, right? Well, then that means I'm losing $40,000 a year on you. So I'm not in the charity business because I would go broke and I can't change the world. Revolution costs money. If I want to be able to change the world, I gotta make a bunch of money so I can have that positive impact. That's the way it works, man. It's kind of crazy,
I had another interesting kind of concept that I was exposed to. It's like progress is made at the border of order and chaos. And, so if you're too far in the order, you're just doing, like, for example, let's take system integration. If you're too far on the order side of reality, then you're just basically doing projects that have already been done. You're not innovating. There's no chance of failure. But for progress to be made, you have to be on the edge of order and chaos. Too much in the chaos, then you're just, you're going to squander away.
You're going to fail over and over and over. You'll do nothing but fail, right? You'll never ultimately deliver anything.
And then if you're too far on the order, you're just going to never progress. So you have to
you're not providing value, right? Eventually, if you're consumed by order, then what you're trying to do is squeeze every little last piece of profit out of some project you did 6 years ago. Because all you're trying to do is redo that project over and over and over again, because you believe, and you sell it to your customer as a brand new project and you charge it to them as a brand new project, even though 70% of the work was done 5 years ago and you've been paid for it 35 times. That's what every integrator is trying to do. They're going out and they're saying, yeah, we're going to do this project for you. This is what we specialize in, water, wastewater, for example. And meanwhile, they're charging $200,000 to integrate a project that their cost on that specific project is 20 grand, because the original cost was consumed the first time they did it 10 years ago, right? And you see that. I mean, in the integrators I worked for, all the integrators, many of the integrators I've met with, because I've been looking for integrators who think like us, and there aren't a lot of them. There are some out there. Waterhammer was one of them.
The way I thought of it, and it's funny because I came across a video I made almost 3 years ago. I was going to do a 12-part series. It was like December 2015. I was going to do the 12 days of SCADA, like 12 days of Christmas. And I made the first video, and I basically talked about what I was going to talk about and why I wanted to open source this information, because of how I was frustrated with the integration industry and why I wanted to make it, change. And then I never hit the mothball projects, but I'm going to actually pull that video back out and re-release it, because it's kind of nostalgic to look back at myself 3 years ago, younger, and still having that passion. And now I'm actually doing something that's trying to pursue that original goal that I obviously had.
That's something that eases out of your pores, that type of passion. And literally, man, I knew you for all of 10 minutes before I realized that I'm going to work with this guy forever. I mean, he's a kindred spirit. I'm going to work with him forever. There's going to be, I don't see a scenario where Zach's not going to be part of my long-term professional life. You know what I mean? Because you think the way I do, and there aren't a lot of people who do,
So, in your first LinkedIn video, you said that, and I thought, it's pretty much true too, that I was one of the only digital marketers that has, PLC programming SCADA experience. There's a guy who works for Aviva, Jay David, who's a pretty cool digital marketer for Aviva. They used to be Wonderware.
Yep.
But he actually used to do some of the programming and stuff himself. He's worked for Wonderware 20 years. So I'm gonna actually be meeting him. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. You gotta. I'll send you a share his profile on LinkedIn. But I thought that was pretty funny because I'm gonna be meeting him at Aviva World, and we could talk about our shared passion between the controls and how we brought out our personalities into digital marketing. Because he kind of does a similar thing. He has his own little. Sometimes he'll put out vintage ads from the 90s of Wonderware, and it's classic ad, and it's pretty funny. But yeah.
I think one of the companies that you should be forging a relationship with is Maple Systems.
Okay.
I think, and I also think Easy Automation is another company you should be forging and part of what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to talk to Vivek, who is the president of Easy Automation.
Okay.
Across this MES, when we do when you're releasing these videos of these MES videos, one of the things that I want us to do is I want us to do videos I want to bring in the like-minded thinkers that can help implement this digital factory, right? The companies like Easy Automation, the companies like Maple Systems with the CMT SVR, Easy Automation with the Easy Logics, the Advantech Uno, right? B&B SmartWorks and Advantech. There's a lot of them out there, right? I want to bring those people in.
Ecosystem that's going to make it happen with the shared vision.
That's right. Flow Software, Canary Labs, all of these.
Flow Software reached out to me, I think.
Did he really, Graham?
Yeah, they do kind of like data visualization. They actually connect to Canary, I think.
Yeah. So they're releasing a module that I just had a meeting with them Friday. So to see the update of their software, we met with them like a year ago, and we made some recommendations on, hey, if you really want to be an IIoT platform, do these things. So they added in the ability to create templates, essentially UDTs inside their system, but they also added in SparkPlug-B support. So now you can connect Flow to Ignition over MQTT, and you can consume all the analytics data from Flow over MQTT. So their big value is they do two things really, really well. Number one, they do predictive analytics based on a measurement point, where you can look at, essentially what you can do is you can select a previous period of time, and then and in real time you can predict, you can draw on a trend what that number should look like going forward based on past performance. That's the first thing. The second thing is they natively integrate with social media. So you can build reports, and then you could share that report in a Slack channel automatically. So that report would just embed inside of a Slack channel, and then people in your organization can comment on that data in real time, which is really something that's missing in the space. If you look at those two things, you know what I mean? So now that they've released the new release of their software that has the SparkPlug-B support, it's a huge game changer. Yeah, and actually Canary Labs is the one that connected us with them. Jeff Nepper did. Oh, Canary Labs is a very, very innovative company, incredibly innovative. They're on the cutting edge. They're doing the exact same things that we're doing. Same thing with Flow. But what I want to do is I want us at some point to, do a Zoom call that's got me and one of our partners on.
Let's do it.
And we ask a question about, well, why is it that Canary and Intellic work together? What's the reason? Why do we have a partnership? That's
a good question to ask or to answer. But a lot of people are wondering that, they're maybe just hearing about Canary Labs and they want to know more, like tell the whole story of how all these pieces fit together. And
here's the other thing I want to do. I want to do a video where we say when you're looking for an integrator and you're looking for innovation, what are the things you need to be looking for? And I want to say what they are. When you're looking for an integrator, number one, first and foremost, you need to ask them, do you enter into partnerships with your vendors that have sales quotas? Number one. So, because what we find we do not enter into those relationships. So if a vendor wants us to sign an agreement with them, a distribution agreement, the one thing that can't be in that agreement is any type of sales quota, because I do not want my salespeople ever making a decision about recommending a solution based on whether or not we got to hit some target. Okay, I want it to be, we're recommending the best solution. So when you're looking for an integrator, you have to ask that question. Do you enter into agreements where you have some type of sales quota or some type of sales target that you're supposed to be hitting? Because that means at that point, you're working for the vendor. You're no longer working for the customer, right? That's number one. Number two, how transparent is your organization? Do you pay some type of production bonus to your people? Where are your people paid within their are they in the 50th percentile, the 80th percentile, 90th percentile? And here's why that matters. You cannot innovate with the middle 40%. The middle 40% are the people who are They're the conservative ones. They're the ones who are trying to create a template and do it over and over and over and over again and squeeze every penny out. The bottom 30% are never going to do anything for you. They're going to be a headache. They're going to, they're never actually going to work. And your top 30% are going to go away. You need to build your organization around that top 30%. So when you're looking for an integrator, you want to make sure that that integrator has the best engineers in the space. That matters. It's not the company. You're not hiring the organization. You're not hiring, people, the only reason people like Walker is because Walker is a top flight controls engineer. It's not because I speak well. No one cares about that. That doesn't produce results. Results are I innovate and I can deliver the project, right? But as a president of a company, my customers need to know that I'm also hiring people who can do the exact same thing. Yeah. And those are questions you have to ask. And so I want us to do a whole video, a whole thing about when you're looking for an integrator, what should you be looking for? What questions should you be asking to weed out the ones you shouldn't be working with?
I'm looking forward to it, man. That was actually a good little start to it right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Let's close. Let's wrap it up for today.
Okay. Hey, we ask you. Do you have the paid Zoom?
No.
So you're limited to 45 minutes or something?
I think it's a good question. No, I think it's unlimited with like 2 people, but with a group, I think it's limited to 45 minutes.